You found conversations.
I found all these texts, all these other girls on your phone from the whole 4 years. It was like 50 bitches in your phone, Rob.
It was literally girls who hit me up, tell me I'm cute.
Does anyone else feel like we're stuck in Groundhog Day? Like, how many times is Sophie gonna find incriminating stuff on Rob's phone? Will Rob ever learn his lesson? And more to the point, is Sophie finally done with him?
None of these women were backup options.
I'm not talking about it with you. You're saying the same things to me. Doesn't mean anything to me.
So you just shut down and run away?
No, I'm over the conversation.
Are you over the conversation, or are you over the marriage, Sophie? Which is it? Now, before we get to the very fragile state of their relationship, let's just rewind back to the start. So, the last we saw Rob and Sophie, they were married, but they were unhappy. There were clearly a lot of lingering issues, and Sophie herself admitted before getting married that she didn't really trust Rob. Yeah, not exactly the best foundations with which to start married life. So it's no real shock to anyone that since getting married, things have gone downhill fast.
I'm just so glad that you let me live here, after everything that happened with Rob.
I'm so glad you left when you did. That was much needed.
Wow, what a dramatic way to start the new season. Production are clearly trying to hint that Sophie is in a new relationship with a lady. So what's going on? Who is this new woman? Well, despite sharing a bed and despite the signs proclaiming how great their love is for each other, the love is just friendship love. These two are best friends. You see, Sophie reveals that she and Rob moved to Austin, Texas for a new start, but something went drastically wrong, which has led to her moving out. Yeah, for the last 2.5 months, she hasn't been living with her husband. She's been living with her best friend, Kay. So perhaps Rob can clear up for us what actually happened.
We decided to get a fresh start. Sophie and I and my dog Rome, we all moved to Austin, Texas. We expanded the family a bit, and I got some pet tarantulas, 6 of them.
Oh, well, that makes absolute sense then. Of course Sophie moved out. Anyone in their right mind would if their husband brought home 6 tarantulas, right? Well, apparently Sophie loves animals, and she even has a fondness for Rob's obsession with creepy crawlies. So, believe it or not, it wasn't actually the spiders that had Sophie running for the hills.
But just a few months after we moved, the fighting continued. And Sophie decided to go move out and live with her new best friend in Austin, this girl, Kay.
Rob, could you possibly be more vague? I mean, that doesn't answer anything, does it? But that is Rob to a T. His playbook is just downplay, deflect and never take any accountability, isn't it? Sprinkled with maybe a touch of gaslighting for good measure. I mean, that's what he does. That's who Rob is. Now, yes, of course, I am assuming here that he's done something wrong to make Sophie want to leave. But that is based entirely on what we've seen from him so far. So as we go back now to Sophie, perhaps she might be able to tell us what actually happened.
I tried to put Rob's cheating behind me, but shortly after I moved to Austin, I saw that he had got this text from some random girl. So I figured out a way to get into Rob's social media to find out what was really going on.
No way. Does he never learn his lesson? This is now strike 3. This is the 3rd time that Sophie has found something on Rob's phone that counts as cheating, no matter what he says. No matter how he tries to excuse it this time, because we all know what it is. He just can't seem to help himself. He just can't stop online cheating on Sophie. And from the sounds of things, it doesn't seem to matter to him if she's miles away or lying right next to him in bed. So tell us more, Sophie. Tell us more about what happened this time.
And that's how I found out that he was actually talking to, way more girls than he had admitted to. So he lied to me about the extent of his online cheating.
Wait, hold on, 1 second. So is he cheating, present tense, or are those old messages from the last time he got caught cheating? Well, Sophie's friend Kay asks her how she can be sure that he won't do it again. And Sophie replies by saying she won't ever be sure. So it definitely seems like Sophie's new best friend Kay isn't exactly a huge fan of Rob. And apparently Rob knows this all too well.
Yeah, she's got this one friend, Kay, that is kind of like the bane of my existence. She's just ruining our relationship, I feel like. And that's the girl she lives with.
Rob says that Kay doesn't respect him, and he believes that she's whispering in Sophie's ear, trying her best to turn her against him. But we do know that Rob has this tendency to paint himself out as the victim, so I'm gonna hold judgment on that until I know all the facts. It might be slightly unreliable. The thing is though, his insecurities are only just beginning to show, because he then says,
Bro, to be honest, I am thinking that, are you this girl? Like, are y'all in a relationship?
You think she's a lesbian?
I mean, she said she was bisexual.
Sorry, once again, just for clarity, right? Rob is the one who's been caught out cheating multiple times. Yet here he is, painting himself out as the victim and accusing Sophie of doing it. Since Sophie first came out to him, Rob has had this fear that maybe she'd wake up one day, regret never exploring women, and resent him for it. And now it seems his imagination has gone wild with this theory, and his friend certainly isn't helping matters.
And Sophie has not been getting intimate with me for a while. So, I gotta wonder if is Sophie getting that somewhere else? Is she getting that with Kay?
Rob's just showing that he thinks that way. When he isn't satisfied sexually, he goes running to get his fix from other women online. So now he is projecting that onto Sophie. Remember, these two were in a long distance relationship for over 2 years. At no point during that time did Sophie cheat. But this is all making me wonder what he's been up to these last 2 months. But we're just gonna have to hold on to that thought. Because for now, Sophie has some news for her mum and her mum's new American boyfriend.
Basically, I'm thinking about moving back with Rob.
What the hell? Why would you want to move back in there? Don't just go crazy back into crazy, home.
Sophie's obviously still not sure whether or not she wants to be with Rob, and living apart and not communicating is just putting a freeze on things rather than fixing anything. But the thing is, as we're well aware, Sophie's mum can't stand Rob. And once again, Claire is all too happy to make her stance crystal clear.
I don't want you with him. I think he's mean to you. I don't like him. He's definitely not good enough for you. And I don't want you to go straight back in there. It's going to be a hot mess. Just don't go.
What's really interesting to watch here is that Claire's firm stance on Rob now forces Sophie into a position where she feels like she needs to defend Rob to Claire's new boyfriend, bearing in mind that this is the first time that Sophie is actually meeting him. She begins trying to explain herself to John and not to her mum.
He is nice. He just has, our marriage is just in a weird spot. That doesn't mean he's a horrible, nasty person.
She tells John that Rob has stayed by her side for 4 years, which I don't really know if that's true if your man has cheated. But, putting that aside, she also claims that their marriage is just in a weird spot. She says she needs to meet up with Rob to work out whether or not they can get past this. But, very, very interestingly, Sophie also shares something which perhaps explains why she is the way that she is.
I didn't have a very stable childhood. My dad wasn't around and my mom struggled with substance abuse. So she couldn't really raise me how she should have.
Sophie tells us that she grew up as the caretaker in her household. She was the one that looked after her mum. She explains that her childhood made her dream of having a stable home, and perhaps that's why this rocky relationship with Rob, even though it is rocky, still seems so alluring to her. Perhaps in her mind, compared to what she saw firsthand with her mum, she's still able to convince herself that because Rob is better than maybe what she saw, that makes him okay. That's why perhaps she finds it so hard to end things. So yeah, I think it's possible to draw the lines here. I think we can probably say with some certainty that Claire's addiction, Sophie's upbringing, has contributed and is playing a role in Sophie's endless patience and her ability to continually forgive Rob, in a very similar way perhaps to how she's forgiven her mum over and over again as well.
I'm gonna see Rob again, and if there is even the slightest chance that Rob can show that he can change and grow up, then I feel like the future that me and him both want is still possible.
Look, there it is again. This is Sophie yet again giving Rob the out that he always seems to get whenever he's done something wrong. It must be really frustrating for Sophie's friends and family to continuously see her do this. Like, she's always giving Rob all of these chances to be the man that she thinks he is. But the question is, can he actually be that man?
I'm planning to have Sophie meet me at a selfie gallery because I know that she's always wanted to go to one. And I really just want to kind of keep her in the best mood possible.
A selfie gallery. Okay, well, I think that's a good sign. Rob is clearly taking Sophie's interests, their mutual interest, to heart, and he's tried to arrange something accordingly. So maybe he can change. Now, the two head into this meeting both wanting the same thing. They both want to put the past behind them. They want to work on their marriage. And for Sophie, Rob also needs to show her that he's going to change his ways. But just talking about this makes Sophie very emotional.
I really don't want the marriage to... Sorry.
Just talking about the possibility that her marriage might end is enough for Sophie to burst out in tears. It really makes you want to shake her and ask her, why are you so in love with this man? What do you see in him that no one else does? Because it is clear she is deeply in love with Rob. And that is why this is so infuriating. Like, the fact that Rob has a girl, has a wife that's so in love, so invested in this relationship with him, and yet he still feels the need to chat to other women online blows my mind. But, as we're about to see, there's more to this than meets the eye. Because as they meet face to face for the first time in over 2 months, as you can imagine, it's very awkward.
Hello.
Hola, chica.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I
look
guess I
nice.
didn't even recognize you. I'm like, oh.
Wow.
Oh no, that's the wrong thing to say, Sophie. Rob was already terrified that you were getting used to life without him. So now that you're joking about forgetting what he looks like, he's gonna be even more on the back foot. But despite how awkward this meeting looks, Sophie reveals to the camera crew that the minute she saw Rob walk in, all of her nerves and anxieties just disappeared. She just felt happy.
It's crazy that after all the drama and everything that's happened, that Rob can still give me butterflies. And I think that just shows that, like, our love is really strong and we are going to keep trying. And I feel like that shows.
She's a lost cause, isn't she? Sophie clearly loves Rob way too much to end this marriage. Now, before they talk, Sophie wants to take advantage of the venue that they're in and take some selfies in the gallery. And Rob agrees. It's awkward, but as time goes on, the ice definitely thaws. They begin to warm up, and eventually, finally, they sit down to talk about their issues. First on the agenda, their wedding rings. Rob claims that unbeknown to her, Sophie actually left her wedding ring back at their shared home.
I'm relieved because I thought I was terrible and lost the ring. Let me see yours.
It's not on.
You don't have your ring on. Everyone thinks you're a single guy.
And the fighting kicks off immediately again. Sophie's upset that by not wearing his wedding ring, Rob is essentially pretending to not be married. And unlike her, he's choosing to do so intentionally. Now, Rob counters this by saying he's not wearing his ring because he's not trying to look stupid, which isn't exactly a great defense.
I mean, you moved out 2 months ago, right?
Because
right?
of you, of other issues.
Because of me, what? I didn't do anything that was
You
like...
didn't do anything, okay?
Yet again, Rob is on the defensive. He claims he didn't do anything, but the problem is, just moments ago, while he was driving on the way to meet Sophie, he said the complete opposite.
I understand that I broke her trust by talking to other women, so I get that I need to do things differently and show her that I have self-control and that I'm gonna hold myself accountable.
So is he guilty or isn't he? Because if this is supposed to be Rob holding himself accountable, then Sophie has bigger problems than she initially thought.
You found conversations.
I found all these texts, all these other girls on your phone from the whole 4 years. It was like 50 bitches in your phone, Rob.
It was literally girls who hit me up, tell me I'm cute.
Excuses again. He's avoiding any responsibility. Rob clearly hasn't changed. And if he hasn't changed now after this same thing happening 3 times, then I don't think he ever will. Like, Sophie needs to run, and ignoring the evidence in front of our eyes, Rob even has the audacity to claim that it's Sophie who's the problem. He tries to make it seem like it's Sophie who's not accepting the accountability that he is apparently trying to take. Like, what?
You cannot take accountability, and you're always going to try to victimize yourself.
I'm not trying to.
If
You're not
honestly,
accepting
all
me
you need
taking
to be-
accountability.
Honestly, all you need to do is say like, I know, I'm really sorry. How can we fix this?
Sophie, you've had this conversation before. Like, we've seen you have this exact conversation multiple times. How many more do you have left in you? Why do you keep forgiving him and trying again? At what point are we allowed to safely say that maybe Sophie needs to go to therapy? Maybe she needs professional help to deal with what she went through in her childhood? Because as things are right now, I'm sorry, but this is her own fault for staying with Rob. It's her own fault for marrying a man she herself admitted she didn't trust. Who does that?
This is why we can't get anywhere. We can't move forward.
Because I don't trust you. You lied about the online cheating multiple times.
No, that's not true.
It is true.
It's not
It is true.
Rob gaslighting Sophie is really tough to watch. You can really hear the frustration in her voice when Rob tries to flip the narrative and make himself seem like not the bad guy. He purposefully, masterfully confuses the situation. He makes Sophie feel like she's overreacting when she isn't, and he lies and lies and lies. He can't help himself. Like, Rob, whether he knows it or not, is in this very moment being emotionally abusive.
I didn't want to tell you, I've had some small conversations with women over the years.
You should have been honest.
I didn't want to do that, so I lied. That's the only time I lied.
It would be completely different if you just tried to be honest with me.
Wait, but didn't he just claim that he didn't lie? Now he's admitting that he lied. Rob can't even keep up with his own stories. And this so-called story isn't even a good one. Like, he's saying he cheated on Sophie and he kept it secret for all this time, all these years, because, quote, he didn't want to tell her. I'm sorry, how is that a good reason? And thankfully, on this occasion, for now at least, Sophie isn't letting him get away with it.
Because if you're gonna come in here and act like you moved out, you just want to party with your... Like, no, say your side too. There's 2 sides to it. But you're not taking any accountability for what you did.
Sophie keeps demanding that Rob says sorry, but he has already said it. Rob's said it in the past, and he said it in this very conversation. But for some reason, Sophie's not satisfied, and I'll tell you why that is. It's because she knows deep down that it means nothing. They're empty words. And maybe this time she should trust her gut.
None of these women were backup options.
I'm not talking about it with you. You're saying the same things to me. Doesn't mean anything to me.
So you just shut down and run away?
No, I'm over the conversation.
Sophie's done. Rob's sorries haven't helped her feel any better. The only thing that probably would have helped would have been genuine remorse from Rob. Genuine, heartfelt promises that he would change. He wouldn't repeat this again in the future. But instead, all she's got is some half-assed apology and the insinuation and gaslighting that she's the one that's overreacting. He's spent way too much time insisting that what he did wasn't even all that bad for any remorse to be real.
You won't let it go.
Because it's so frustrating to someone to hurt you so bad and just downplay it. But it's like, you don't get it, I have nothing to talk about.
I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. Sophie, run. Rob's a grown-ass man who's stuck in his ways, a man who keeps repeating the same mistakes. But, undeniably, he has a hold on Sophie. She's deeply, madly in love. There's a very real reason why all those closest to Sophie, her best friend and her mum, all don't like Rob. So maybe with their help, maybe with her mum's brutal honesty, she might be able to extend those 2 months apart into permanent time apart.